Are you an online creator thinking, hey, should I continue with my journey or should I quit? Or are you a startup founder thinking, hey, my startup isn't getting anywhere, should I just be quitting? Or even better, right? So are you like new to creating stuff online and you're thinking, should I continue creating stuff or should I probably quit? You know, if these are questions that are running in your mind, today's book review is going to be super useful for you. So let's get started. Hey folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Praveen Ramesh, and each week I review one non-fiction book, and I also kind of talk about things that I'm learning along by being a creator, the journey of being a creator. So this week we're going to be talking about The Dip by Seth Godin. But before I start reviewing, I want to tell you two things. One, my videos sound even better at 1.5x, so go ahead, increase the speed of the YouTube with the settings icon on the bottom of the video. And two, if you like what you are seeing, or if you want to kind of get along with my journey, do like, share and subscribe to my channel. It would mean the world to me. Today we're going to be talking about a short, crisp, punchy book called The Dip by Seth Godin. It talks about why being the best in the world is seriously underrated. And for the same reason, it received a lot of mixed reviews on Goodreads as to people were saying, hey, why should I be number one? The book is too discouraging for someone who's just starting their creator journey and stuff like that. Is it that way? Probably you'll know by the end of this video. So how I'm going to be talking about this book is on three fronts. One, why being the number one is extremely underrated. That's going to be the first part of us talking. Second part is going to be the three kinds of curves that you see while you're being a creator. And then the third part is going to be about how do you decide when to quit versus how do you decide when to keep continuing. So these are the three parts. So let's get started with the first one on the power of being number one. Now imagine your favorite soft drink brands, right? Two of your favorite soft drink brands. If you're someone like me, you would have thought about Coke and Pepsi, right? So can you imagine the market share that these two have? So Coke nearly has 50% market share, and guess what Pepsi has? 19 point something, let's say 20 for argument's sake, right? So as you would see, the difference between the number one and number two is pretty huge, and that's what The Dip by Seth Godin, the book, starts off with. Winners win big because the marketplace loves a winner. It's called the Zipf law, where it pretty much applies to all the college resumes that you put out, best-selling authors and everything. Winners win big because market loves a winner. So, and that kind of boils down to the question of why do winners win? Primarily because of two reasons, right? One, people don't have the time and money to research a lot, and number two is people rarely want to take a lot of risk. Let's say you're buying a smartphone. By default, your choices are narrowed down to probably the number one, number two, or probably the number three in the market. You are going to narrow down your choices to the top two, and that's what the power of being number one and number two does. So does that mean that everyone else in the market shouldn't even exist? That's where being the best comes in, right? So being the best doesn't mean you have to be the number one in the whole market, but you just have to be the number one for whoever you want to cater to. So being the best in the market is extremely subjective, or being the best is extremely subjective. Being the best in terms of your audience's eye could be what is best for your target audience, what is best for them right now based on the information that they have, based on the budget they have, and based on the worldview that they have for themselves. So you don't define what is best for them. The consumers, the end users, define what is best for them. So you have to be the number one for someone in your target audience. As long as you're number one for someone in your target audience, you are good to go, and you are going to be the number one choice for whoever your ideal customer is. So that brings us to the question of how do you get to that position? So to kind of get to this point, Seth Godin talks about three kinds of curves, right? So the first one is cul-de-sac, which looks something like this. As you would see from this curve, nothing pretty much changes in this curve in terms of effort. It just continues to exist. Any positive effort, or you don't do anything at all, the curve just continues to exist. So if you're in this kind of a startup, or you're this kind of a creator, you just have to embrace this and let things be. Things are working, you need not do much. The second one is the cliff. Looks something like this. Wow. it's a marketer's dream, right? So this is the kind of curve where, as you keep doing things keep getting better. Most of the things that we do in our real life, like, that gives us dopamine high, falls under this kind of a curve. Things like smoking, drinking, scrolling through social media and stuff like that gives us this kind of a dopamine high until you realize, oh my god, it's becoming too much, and suddenly you decide to quit. And you don't quit gradually, you just quit it cold turkey or however, and suddenly comes to a halt. So this kind of curve is called the cliff. The third kind of curve is called the dip, which looks something like this. As you would see, you would see an initial uptick when you start. That's like creating a new startup or create a new YouTube channel, new blog, anything, but you're excited, with all the new toys, you have a new domain, you're very excited to start, and probably 2, 3 or whatever timeline you get into the journey, and you realize, it's starting to get boring, and then hits the dip, right? So how do you overcome this dip forms the crux of this book. So dip, as Seth Godin says, is a combination of bureaucracy and busy work, right? At the beginning, you're very excited, the dip hits, you start boring, and this is where 80 to 90% of the people quit. Here is where people say, it's not working for me, I'm quitting either because of lack of money, lack of time, busy work, and blah blah blah. But dip is that long stretch between an amateur and or a beginner's luck and a real accomplishment. Dip is what creates the scarcity, and scarcity leads to value, right? So if, let's say, the dip didn't exist and things just kept rising, everyone would be an awesome creator by today, right? So everyone would be banging out videos after video, everyone would be banging out a lot of blogs, everyone would be a startup owner, and everyone would be the best in their business. But no, that's rarely the case. The dip is what differentiates the experts from the beginners. So the best folks in the world embrace the dip, not just sail, probably blaze through this dip. What does a typical being in the dip look like? You run out of time and you quit, you run out of money and you quit, you get scared and quit, you lose interest or enthusiasm of why you started and you quit, and you focus on short term instead of long term, and you quit because of the short term stresses that you are facing, right? But again, so quitting, 90% of the people quit during the dip, and that creates a scarcity, and scarcity creates a value. So if you're going to be quitting during the dip, it's not even worth the journey. So that brings me to the question of, when do you quit versus when do you continue? Hey, this boils down to basically a very, very simple framework. Again, I'm condensing it. This book kind of details it out, but it basically comes down to 3 questions, right? In fact, Seth Godin goes on to say, strategic quitting can do great things for you as a creator or as a company. So what are the 3 circumstances under you would quit? The first one, when you cannot be the number 1 in the market. And again, I say, being number 1 is extremely, extremely subjective, right? So for your target audience, for a particular section of the people, in their worldview, if you can't be the number 1, hey, it's time for you to quit. Second, never quit something with great long-term potential just because you can't stand the short-term stress, right? If you feel that whatever you're doing today has a long-term benefit, has a compounding effect, has something, that would reap results in the future, never quit that. Third thing, actually quitting in the short term is never a great strategy, right? Quitting for the long term is an excellent strategy. So if you ever want to quit before you start. So here's a small exercise that he recommends us to do, right? Let's say you're starting a new startup or a new YouTube channel or whatever it might be, right? Whatever you're starting, whatever you're getting into your creative journey. So write down 3 or 4 circumstances under which you would be quitting, right? A, B, C, D, and then stick to them, right? So before you start, write down the circumstances under which you would quit, and then stick to them. Never say, okay, I've achieved one, probably I could just navigate them. If you're very successful with quitting, you're doing yourself a huge favor. So these are 3 circumstances under which you would quit. If during the dip you don't experience A, B, and C, the reasons you've stated during the start of your project, you should continue and blaze through the dip, and probably, who knows, you would be the next, the number 1 person in whatever you're trying to do. So that's it from me today, folks. And if you like this book review, do like, share, and subscribe, and do tell me which book should I be reviewing next. Thank you.